voila, you have a freezer meal. Okay, what do we think of that? Think I can get that to wrap? Will it wrap? So, call me impressed, but welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, today is part 2 of the freezer meal prep stuff that I am working on. I will link to part 1, which mostly that was just setting up. So, I made some wraps and what else did I do? Made wraps. Made bread, but for the actual freezer prep, I needed wraps. And I thawed some chicken, which I did cook up the chicken. I sort of seasoned it simply, so it literally just has salt and pepper on it. It's to make it more multi-use, so if I don't use all of the chicken to make freezer meals, I can just eat the chicken for some, use it for something else. If you're new here, I'm Catherine, the Aerogarden homesteader, and welcome to freezer meals. My game plan for today is I am going to start by making some breakfast burritos. That's why I wanted to make those really large burritos yesterday. And I assumed I had some stale old tortillas in the freezer and I was going to use that to make an enchilada casserole. Well, haha, joke's on me, I didn't have any. So this morning I pulled out the griddle because I had to pull it out anyways, and I whipped up some more tortillas so that I could use those to make an enchilada casserole. Now, I prefer to use sort of the store-bought stale ones because they just hold up better, but you know what? In a pinch, homemade works. So I have lots of tortillas, but I want to make the breakfast burritos first because whatever tortillas I have left over is what I have to work with for making an enchilada casserole. If I don't have enough, well, I don't get to make as many enchilada casseroles as I'm not sure how many I planned on making anyways, but I was going to make at least 2. Probably 2 big ones, and then if I had a little bit of stuff left over, I would make a little one for dinner. So, but we are going to start with breakfast burritos, because I need to use up a bunch of eggs, and I've always wanted to try this. We do enjoy breakfast burritos, but we normally get them from a restaurant. And of course the restaurant, we don't have one near us, but the restaurant near when we go visit, the grandparents, it closed. So the only one is far enough away that it's not worth making the drive to go get a breakfast burrito when we go visit, grandma sort of thing. So yeah, it has not happened in a while, so I wanted to give it a try and see if we could kind of make our own breakfast burritos. I am just going to do a bacon version, but you know what? If this turns out and my husband likes them, I will certainly make ham and, various other flavor combos that we also like. So today it's at least going to be breakfast burritos and some enchilada casseroles, and then I had plans to make something that was pasta based. That's what I made yesterday, was pasta, and it didn't really make the shape I wanted, so I sort of just ate that for dinner. I'll put a picture up. I just cooked it up. They were kind of like a really thick pasta, reminiscent of gnocchi, but not. They weren't pillowy soft, but yeah, it was good, but it wasn't what I planned, so. Okay, so I'm going to just show you what's going on here. My kitchen is an absolute mess, but over here I have the griddle set up and I am going to be making the burritos. So I did take them out of the cloth that I had wrapped around them and left them in the bag. They've cooled off at this point. There's no more condensation, so they will be fine. It's because I made more wraps, so I just used the same towel again. And so this is all ready to go. It's all nice and hot. I'm going to get the bacon in there. So the bacon is all cut up and ready to go. I don't think you really need to see bacon being cooked, but I will eventually spin you around and show you what's going on, because I'm going to get the eggs prepared and then I'm going to move everything over to the griddle and start cooking everything. But I'm going to get the bacon going because that's going to take a little while. Okay, hope I got everything. I am going to keep the flavors pretty simple. I'm going to put in a little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of onion powder, just so that I have the flavor of it, but I don't have the big chunks. So I think I am going to start with 12 eggs and see what that gets me. I have not washed these eggs. Should probably wash these eggs. Okay, so some of my eggs are labeled C, and that's because some of them got cold, and I didn't know if the eggs got too cold, would it affect their, I don't know, goodness. I got a little bowl, just in case. I had this weird issue where some of my eggs were like neon orange inside. If you've ever heard of what causes neon orange eggs, let me know, because I couldn't figure it out. So not only do I have to check my eggs to see if they're any good, because farm fresh eggs, but now I need to check to see, that was cute, if the insides have gone bad somehow. It was weird. I hard-boiled some eggs and there was like this ring of neon orange. We got rid of them. We didn't eat them, in case you're wondering. My chickens have still been laying, despite it being super cold out, but I did get a really tiny egg today. It was the smallest egg I've gotten since they started laying. I've gotten some pretty nice big ones too. This might be a double yolker. Nope. I guess they have stopped doing the double yolk thing. And I'm going to chase this eggshell around. Where'd it go? Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, so for the most part, everything's going to get cooked on the griddle. I don't know what happened. I think it came unplugged. I lost my temperature, so this is probably going to take a little longer than I expected, as everything needs to come back up to temperature. What I'm thinking of doing is, after this renders out a little bit more fat, I'm going to move some to the other side. I'm going to cook up some potatoes. I have some frozen cubed potatoes. And then once the potatoes are cooked, I'll move things that are cooked over to the other side and then cook the eggs and then just mix everything together. That's kind of the game plan. So I'm going to move you back over to the eggs for a few minutes so that I can show you what I'm doing. And it's pretty easy. Get some salt and pepper in, and then some flavor. I'm going to wait on the salt because that does denature the proteins. I'm probably putting like a 1/4 teaspoon of everything. It might be able to handle a little bit more, but I don't want to overwhelm either. Now, if you really wanted to, what you could do is cook up a very small amount of egg and taste it, and then if you like how it tastes, it's good. If you don't like how it tastes, you can adjust the seasonings at that point. Okay, I'm trying to do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt too. Bacon is salty. I always forget this, but bacon is salty, so there's no need to put in a ton of salt when you're working with bacon. So my eggs are ready to go. My bacon sounds like it's finally coming up to temperature. Okay, and I will probably get the potato out so I can get that cooked up a little bit. I don't need it to be brown or anything, but I do want to cook it a little bit. There you go, that's a little bit better. The other side's definitely hotter. So I'm going to cook about half of this 2-pound bag. Maybe slightly less. I'd say these look like crinkle cut French fries that have just been cut into little chips. And I'm going to season my potatoes just a little bit. Keep it simple, salt and pepper. Okay, the question is, am I going to lose all my egg in the back? Okay, so I think everything is cooked enough. I don't want to overcook the eggs, obviously, so I got this side turned down now. I'm just losing things everywhere. This is kind of messy. I think this was a little more than what this size griddle can handle, so note to future self, don't do 12 eggs. So what I want to do is I want to kind of clean this side off a little bit, and I'm going to get the heat down. I'm going to start warming up my wraps and filling them. There we go. I don't want egg bits on the outside of my wraps, so hopefully I can fill up 5 or 6 wraps, and then I'll have a bunch left over for, we'll see, but a bunch left over to make some enchilada casserole. Okay, that is that. And I'm just warming up the ones I made yesterday because those are burrito sized. I made them about 10 inches, so they should hopefully be big enough. Yeah. Oh, that one's kind of small. That one's big. Okay, so as they warm up, I will throw another one on, and then I will start filling. I'm going to start doing the bigger wraps first. That's too much. Okay, what do we think of that? Think I can get that to wrap? Will it wrap? Here, I'm going to take a little bit more off. Okay, I was going to put cheese on. Okay, some frozen Mexican flavored shredded cheese. Yeah, there we go. Now, that looks better. Okay, so fold in the sides, fold it over, get everything kind of tucked in. You want to wrap the sides in a little bit more. I don't know that this one really needs it, but there we go. One down. Let's see how many to go. Might work slightly better to put the cheese on the bottom. Let's give that a try. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I am just going to sit here and make a bunch of breakfast burritos. These smell really good. I think I am going to be eating one of these for lunch. There we go. Oops. Someone's going to be eating that one for lunch. So I got 8 wraps total. I guess I didn't have to worry about not having enough tortilla wraps because I've got 6 left over. I'm going to leave these out of the bag and let them stale up a little bit. And in the meantime, I've got 2 on the griddle still, just to keep them warm. I'm going to wrap the rest of these up in some plastic wrap and get them in the freezer and see how it goes. Like, I'm sure they'll taste good fresh. The question is, are they going to taste good after they have been frozen and then heated in the microwave and all that stuff? So we'll see. Probably should have put that on the other side. Okay, so I will wrap them up relatively tightly with plastic wrap, and then I'm going to put them in another bag so that they are contained, and hopefully the double barrier will prevent them from going stale. I'm hoping they just get eaten fast. So we'll see how that goes, but this is my first attempt at this, and I will let you know how it tastes fresh, at least. I will try to let you know how it tasted after it was reheated from frozen. So, okay, I am moving on to making some enchilada casserole for freezer meals. We did try the breakfast burritos. We had those for lunch because I had one of them split open and one of them was kind of a little on the thin side when I was filling the last one, which is fine. So we ate those for lunch. They were really good. So The things to take into account would be, how does it reheat after being frozen? So that's one of our concerns. And our other concern, which when you're making it, just make sure to stir your egg and not get big huge egg chunks, egg curds. So we did kind of hit a spot where it was like nothing but egg. And that's fine if that's what you like, but if you want to have a good mix of all of the flavors in each bite, just pay attention to how big your egg curds get. So I think a couple of mine probably got out of hand and didn't mix in very well. And I'm not sure if it's worth mixing in the cheese in the egg. It depends on how melty you want your cheese and egg and all that to get. But if you don't mix it in, you do run the risk of having pockets where there's no cheese. So those were our concerns. We will see how it does after reheating, being frozen and then reheated. Now, I'm working on some enchilada casserole here. I am dicing up some pre-cooked chicken to make some casseroles with. I just simply roasted this, and some of them, the thinner ends get a little more overdone than the fat ends. You can pound it flat if you want. Doesn't matter to me. It's going to be sitting in a sauce, so your mileage may vary. It's just, what do you like? How much will that bother you? So, and I do have some homemade wraps. I have quite a few. I figured that the best way to use them up is I'm just going to make as many enchilada casseroles as I can and use up all the wraps. I would rather have leftover chicken than leftover wraps, because the wraps don't last as long and the chicken will get eaten. My husband will just eat plain chicken. So, but the wraps those might be a little harder to move. So, and it's good to have a few convenience meals of some sort in your house. So I got sick recently. Just about everyone in the house got sick recently, and I'll tell you, I depended on some of those convenience meals to get me going, because it was more convenient for me at one point to grab the can of soup that was on the counter that my husband had brought up, and I'm telling you, it was not that pleasant to eat. So I depended on some of those potato soups that I had made and that chicken soup base that I made, and I did make beans. I was feeling better and I made some beans, so I ate some of that because I had some little jars that I had canned up. Plus I wanted to show you what it looked like after it had been canned, so I ate that, and I had some freezer meals in the freezer, but I am now down to one freezer meal. And it's not something that everyone can eat. So this is something that just about everyone can eat. My son won't. My daughter sometimes does, but, if I can get 3 out of 4 people to eat something, that's a win in my book. So I am going to make as many enchilada casseroles as I can, just so that I have a bunch in the freezer. And I do have, so this is about a 6 by 8 inch dish. I think it's about 2 inches tall, maybe a little bit more. I will fill up as many as I can, but I have a whole bunch of those, so if I have any extra dishes left over, I will probably set up for another freezer meal day at some point and make something different to go in it. I would like to have something that's a macaroni, pasta-based one as well. And I'm going to get this cleaned up real quick. Okay, I cut up 3 of the 5 chicken breasts I cooked, so we will see how far that gets me. Okay, this meal comes together really fast. It's pretty much, you just dump everything together and voila, you have a freezer meal. Okay, I grabbed black beans because that's what I found. I'm using the green tomato salsa verde from one of the ball canning books. I'm sure it's in a bunch of them. Okay, I like to put down a little bit of sauce just to help prevent the wrap from sticking. It sticks anyways, but your mileage may vary. Maybe I'm just not putting down enough sauce, but who knows. And then, these have been sitting out for a little while. I will probably trim them to get them to fit, so I shall need a knife. Okay, let's see. I can make room. Maybe. There we go. I made room. Okay, so might I don't know what's the best way to do this. There you go. Okay. So that worked out pretty good. These are about 10-inch wraps. So if you're going to use a small pan, you might want to use smaller wraps. Just depends on what you want. Okay, so I'm going to put a small handful of chicken. I'll wash my hands a million times. Put in some beans. These beans have onions mixed in, so I don't know if you can really see them, but there's it's like onion soup mix, I think, or I just threw in onions. I don't remember. It's been 3 years. Okay, well, depending on how many farts you want per serving, you add the appropriate amount of beans. Then I will add some corn, a little bit of cheese, and then I just repeat the layers until I run out of space. I think I normally do 2 layers of filling and 3 layers of wraps. Obviously it depends on the size of your dish. You could also put in like a creamy, you know, if you wanted to put sour cream in or something like that, but I am catering to people who don't like sour cream, so I will add it to the finished product for myself. There we go. Lather, rinse, repeat. Did not cut that very square. The nice thing about doing this as a batch cooking is I don't feel like I have to use the entire jar of beans. I don't feel like I have to use the entire jar of the salsa verde. So I have flexibility because I know I'm going to be making more than one. So that's finally it on that bag. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be about 1 pint jar of salsa verde per, and not quite 1 pint jar of beans. Okay, so I like to top it with a little bit of sauce and more cheese. And then you can bake from frozen, or you can thaw this in the fridge overnight or morning of or whatever. When you put it in the oven, it works best to have a tinfoil covering. And then once everything is mostly cooked, then you can take the tinfoil off and crisp up the cheese however you like your cheese. But you want your cheese to be nice and bubbly. That's pretty much it. So I will be baking one of these off for dinner, because if you're going to make a big mess in the kitchen, you might as well enjoy the fruits of your labor. Okay, there we go. So it doesn't need a ton of cheese on top, but it does taste good with cheese on top. Okay, and then I just have a lock lid. I will label this up, and whichever ones are going in the freezer, I just put what it is and the date. Easy peasy. So I'm just going to churn out a whole bunch more. I will show you what it looks like when it's done. And it's really good. I highly recommend you make it. So, call me impressed, but these were actually really good from the freezer. I thawed it overnight, stuck it in the microwave. A minute wasn't quite long enough for me, and it definitely helps to flip it halfway, but a minute and a half was a little too much. I will eventually fine-tune it, but yeah, no, this turned out really good. And the cheese got all nice and melty. Yeah, tasted. I think I should make some more. My husband requested a steak version, so we'll see how he likes it from the freezer and go from there. Here is how the enchilada casserole looks from the oven. I mean, it's not a pretty dish, but it tastes really good. The issue with using fresh wraps is they are very soft. They do break down a little bit more. But, you know, you can always just leave them out and let them stale up a little bit before using them. So, it's kind of what I did, but I didn't have a lot of time. But, yeah. I enjoy this with sour cream. You can put a whole bunch of other toppings on it. Dress it up how you like it. So, in case you're wondering, I made one small, this is a smaller one, it's 4 by 6, I think, compared to the 5 of the bigger ones. I don't know if you can see the size difference. But I made 5 of these, 1 of these. I have 6 breakfast burritos remaining out of the 8. I have 3.5 wraps left. So I have 3.5 wraps left. And I used 6 jars of salsa verde, 3 jars of beans, although one of them was a 3/4 pint. I used 1 bag of corn and part of a bag of shredded cheese. So all in all, this was a really good day to do this because some of my salsa verdes were from 2020. Actually, all of them were from 2020. And I believe the beans were also, well, those were from 21. But it was nice to be able to use up some of that stuff and get it out of the pantry. And I will be taking those out of my inventory. And it'll be good to get those out of there because some things linger longer than others. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess in the kitchen right now, but it used 5 chicken breasts, and I got 6 meals for later, you know, that I can dole those out, and it's really nice. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will have some more videos up at the end that you might also enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.